Okay, so now you met up with Owen, and he gave you $1.5 million in cash.
The first time.
The first time?
Yes.
Now, did you think that Owen was staking you?
Well, that's what the whole thing was from the very first point of me talking to him on the phone. I was at the Fairmount Miramar Hotel with Krista. We were having lunch, and she brought up, I have a friend that's a big businessman in Australia. He would love to get involved with your charity. That's how it started.
Right, because the stories differ a little bit.
He goes, this is what I'm going to do for you for 25%. I'm going to have my host in Las Vegas call the Star Casino in Sydney, Australia, and they're going to let them know that this high roller is coming in from Vegas and that he's going to be playing at the tables there. So his host calls. Sure enough, they put the red carpet out for him, and he shows up with $1.5 million cash in Sydney, Australia at the Star Casino. They already know he's this whale, right? They're already expecting him. So what does he do? He puts the cash on the table. They exchange his chips, just like you do. He plays for a couple hours, plays 20,000 here, 20,000 there. After about 3 hours, he just says, hey, I'm not feeling it. What do? They say, okay, Mr. Cipriani, what do you want? You know what, just give me a check. I'm not feeling it. So they give him a check. Let's call it $1.5 million. The check's for $1.5 million from the Star Casino. Well, guess what? The Star Casino is the sister casino to the Venetian in Las Vegas. So guess what? He gets back on his plane, goes to the Venetian, takes his $1.5 million check, goes to the cage where they already know him. What do you want, Mr. Cipriani? Cash, chips? At the time, this is 2010, before all these know your customer rules came. Half cash, half chips. Plays over there for a couple of hours and cashes it all to cash. Calls me. I'm in Sydney now. Where do you want this money dropped off? Within 48 hours, this guy just cleaned $1.5 million like that.
So
that's a big difference.
Yeah. Someone that was close to Hanson said that you were paid a percentage of the principal to launder the money in the casino, and that was all figured out ahead of time, but you said that never happened.
100% didn't happen.
Okay. And so you didn't know about the laundering or anything?
I'll take I'll tell you what, we could both sit here, Owen and I'll take a lie detector test, and we could both put $1 million up if he has $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is, that this is all bullshit. There was no percentages. Why would I blow the money in Vegas if there was a percentage? $1.5 million is $375,000 if there's a 25% thing, right?
Is that what a stake usually is, 25%?
No. I don't do stakes where like I'm getting a piece of the thing. I told you, I've given people a chance to gamble with me, and sometimes I'll give them the money depending upon how much it is. But if they literally want to stake me and I'm going to sit there with a lot of money and put money at risk, then I want half of the win. Now, if I don't win, it's their fault. They're the one that encouraged me to do it.
Got it. So you take $1.5 million.
Yep.
And you go to the casino.
I go to the Star Casino.
What happens next?
I start playing. I was there for, I think, a couple days, and back and forth. And I think I won like a little over $100,000. I called him up and said, hey, I got your money, got about $100,000 profit. We could help a family with $100,000. Where you at? Oh, I left. What do you mean you left? I'm not here. I said, but I got your money. I want to give it to you. No, I know you're solid. Don't worry about it. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's $1.5 million. I want to give it back to you. He didn't want it. So after trying to convince him to, like, dude, I want to give your money back, he's like, no, don't worry. I trust you. And I'll give it to you. He said, give it to me in the States. I went to the States, went to Vegas, and started gambling again. I'm trying to call him. He's not answering his phone. And I went down from the $1.6 million something that I had, I went down to like 200,000. So now I got 200,000 because I'm playing, right?
So you lost $1.4 million.
Yes, $1.4 million.
This is blackjack?
Nobody knows about.
Okay, this is blackjack?
All blackjack, yeah.
Okay.
It's documented.
How much per hand are you playing?
I think I'm playing 2 or 3 spots, 15, 20,000 a hand at times, sometimes 5, sometimes 10, all different. It wasn't just a flat bet. A flat bet is where you just keep betting. I was flat betting the $2.5 million after I knew something wasn't right. But initially, I was betting like I would. You know, I start off a little light, Then I go bigger as the shoe changes in my favor if there's a run. So it just, because I couldn't give them the money, I tried to cash the check at the casino. They wouldn't cash it. They said, you got to play first. That's why I played. You can't, this is the other thing that's not correct when he says things. When you have a check and you deposit it in a casino, they will only give you cash or a check on the winnings. They won't give you cash for a check. If you bring cash in, they'll give you cash back because they know that that's laundering. So whatever I gave them, which was a check, I had to literally put it all at risk, which I did, because at one point I had to win $1.4 million back, right? $1.3 million to get $1.5 million. So then I got cash and said, hey, give me cash, because I had blown it at the tables. So in essence, even though I gave him a check initially, I was able to get cash because I was down $200,000. I initially had $1.5 million check, but I in essence won $1.3 million, so they could give me back that in cash. That's how it works. There was also no sister casino where he said, I called my host. There was no host that I called. There is no sister casino. The Venetian Palazzo is not a sister casino of the Star. The Star is owned, I think, by Echo Entertainment. There was no sister property in Vegas at all. That was all nonsense. There was no red carpet leading because a host called. That was all bullshit, like most of the stuff he says.
Okay, so although you were down, you earned the money back.
I played, yeah, I won it back.
And you got to what, 1.6 million?
I got to $1.2 million or $1.3 million, and I called him. I said, I want to give you $1 million right now, so there's $1 million that you have. He said, okay. I said, where are you at? I'm in LA. I said, I'm going to fly to LA, and I'll give you the $1 million in cash. I flew to LA.
With $1 million in cash?
With $1 million in cash.
Okay.
And met him at the Fairmount Miramar, where he tries to tell on 40 different podcasts. That's where we initially met. We didn't initially meet there. We met for the first time in Sydney at the Four Seasons bar, at the Four Seasons. So I gave him $1 million in cash.
But you're still down.
Breakfast.
You're still down $500,000 though.
Right. So I wanted to get rid of the $1 million because I didn't want to do what happened before.
Yeah.
And blow. Gambling's gambling. If the money's there, you're going to play it.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay.
So I gave him $1 million, gave him the duffel bag with the $1 million. He took it. I said, I need a little more time. He said, don't worry. Then I got another like $250,000. I had a couple hundred left to play with. I said, I want to give you another $250. Then I'll just have to pay you the $250. Okay, no problem. Krista Velarde came to meet me at the same Fairmount Miramar, and I gave her $250. I said, you want me to follow you back? I didn't know they were married. It was just, she was the hookup for the guy. Gave her the $250. I drove her to Beverly Hills to make sure she was safe with the $250. I went back, started playing again, called him up, and I said, hey, I got another $150 for you. Okay, I'll have my father come. His name's Big Jim. Big Jim came with this like piece of shit F1 or something pickup truck and parked in valet at the Fairmount Miramar again because I live right near there. And I gave him $150,000 in cash. And his father looked at me and said, hey, sign this paper so in case I get stopped, it looks like you paid a bill or something. So he had some kind of bullshit like invoice for some construction work that he did, and that he could say if he got stopped that I paid him $150,000. So now that's 1.4. I never paid him the other 100. When I went back, he said, don't worry about the 100. There was no 375s talked about in the beginning, middle, or end. I was still owing him 100, and he said, don't worry about it, because I blew it and I was winning it back. So he took the 100,000 loss. It didn't cost me anything other than aggravation and time, because it took me days. It took me like a week in Vegas to win that money back.
Right. So you spent all this time.
It wasn't like he
Right.
said, in 48 hours, it was done. 48 hours. No, it's all bullshit.
Okay, so you spent a week
In Vegas.
with nothing to show for it.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I was down 100 that it was his money.
Right. But
Yeah.
that's
and
not
so
your
I couldn't
loss.
help the people.
Yeah.
When I had the 100 and some thousand in Australia, that's when he should have taken $1 million. I had the 100 in Australia. I could have given it to someone. But instead, so that's when I knew something's up. What's going on? And then when I decided to go there a second time, I said, okay, I'm bringing a reporter. And I brought this Fox News reporter who was embedded with the troops in Iraq multiple times, a very seasoned reporter. His name's Rick Leventhal. And I said, look, I don't know for sure, but I'm bringing you here just in case, and I'm paying your trip. I paid his trip there, first class or business class tickets to Sydney. Got him a room at the Star. Got him a suite at the Four Seasons. And I said, I just want you to document to make sure nothing goes bad, because I just have a bad feeling. At this time, Owen didn't threaten me, didn't do anything to make me think that this was a bad guy.
Well, did you know about the laundering at all or no?
No.
Not at all. Okay, well.
No, it was just a guy that was giving me money to help people, and it didn't go right, but, I blew the money, $1.4 million at first, got it back, not at first. The first time I won $100 something. When I went to Vegas is when I blew the $1.4 million. And it didn't go like I planned, and I had to get it back in increments. And then, of course, he was down 100,000, but not 375. He was down 100,000. I gave him his money. I gave it to Krista, to him, and to his father, Big Jim, and that was it. A month or so later, I went back to Australia. That's when he showed up with 2 giant suitcases this high, and he said $2.5 million. Now, in the documentary, it says the money smelled, it was wrapped in plastic. That's all bullshit. It didn't smell. It wasn't wrapped in plastic because it was literally just wrapped and stacked like in $50 bills. And $50 bills, if you imagine $2.5 million in hundreds, double it, right? That's how big it is. But they didn't smell. It wasn't wrapped. Like even in the documentary, it shows it being wrapped. It was never wrapped with plastic. It just wasn't.